Hey, what's up guys? In this video I'm going to be going over how you can use the relationship between LFO Tool and Saturn to make some really gnarly and not so much gnarly but like really awesome kicks with the right kind of kick material. So right now we have this kick here. Nothing too special, but the reason why I chose it because it has this long tail here. So a kick is, a couple of fundamental parts. There's the initial attack or transient, which is a click, and then there's the body of it, and then it kind of rings out a little bit. Some ring out more than others. In an ideal, well, not an ideal, in like a typical workflow, you'd shape this out with the volume or the fades. But I actually want to keep this because I want to use this to our advantage. I'm going to drop in LFO Tool. LFO Tool is a tool for LFOs. You can draw in any kind of shape that repeats due to, I guess, in direct relation to the rate, and you can adjust the volume. So it's kind of like an automatic sidechain thing if you're using for the floor. And it also has filters, and you can modulate those with the LFO. And the LFO in question is here, and you draw it in, etc., etc. I like to use LFO Tool as a quick and easy sidechain tool, but I also like it to kind of draw in shapes, and I use it as a compressor that you have the ultimate control over. So let's take a look at that. I want to display the waveform here. Confirm that the rate is quarter. So this is a quarter bar. So we have a for the floor beat, the kick will appear throughout. And you notice there's like that, again, there's that kind of tail fade out. I want to shape this so that's all one size. So I'll just bring that down. Like so. I can adjust the curves if I'm feeling adventurous. And I want to keep a little bit of that attack there. And adjust that curve a little bit there. And this is the part where I really like LFO Tool to have some sort of gain, but and yeah, I'll play around with that later. So I have that all kind of squished together. That is some hefty compression. I need to add in a utility. Bring the volume up just a little bit, and you can hear that tail. You can hear that now. It's a wumpy part. That is what we want. So one thing I like to use on a lot of things is FabFilter Saturn. Now, FabFilter Saturn is a multiband distortion device. So what I will do immediately is I will set it to a clean tube and increase the drive essentially. And that sounds pretty neat. Right, and there's other distortion algorithms as well to get a little bit more or less kind of harmonics. Maybe I'll go warm tube. Just for that. So what I want to do now is I want to, split this up into the separate bands. So, one band comes in, which is like the whole, frequency spectrum, and that's getting processed by the distortion here, and then it's sent out. But if we split it up, things will be distorted separately. So you won't have any kind of anything affecting anything else. So you get an overall kind of bigger sound, or the distortion will be a little bit more. There'll be a little bit more clarity in the distortion. Hard to explain, but it just sounds good. So from here, I'll solo each band. And I'll adjust the frequency crossover here. And I want to adjust the tone. Right, just to even out a little bit of that fuzz. And I'll go over to this over here. right? And this will be like the main like click of the kick here. And up here is like the upper harmonics. Right, and that's what is going to kind of poke through the mix at the top end. And I move this down a little bit. I typically do that just to adjust the, I guess, you know, the muddiness that kicks can make when you're doing this sort of thing. Oh, I actually go in there and unsolo that. All right, so we have that now. Let's add in another LFO tool, and let's see what we have here. And I might do a little something. Right, so we have these curves here. You can't really see it, but there's a lot of harmonics added to this. And I want to attenuate that with some filtering. I'm going to use a low-pass filter, very gentle filter. And I'm going to shift-click on the volume so that the volume is not being affected. I'm going to increase the cut, which is affecting the filter cutoff here. And from here, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add some drawage to this whole thing. I'm gonna do it to the whole thing here. So I'll just yeah. You see how it's like kind of shaving off. I'll just select these both. It's kind of shaving off those harsh kind of harmonics. Right, I want that to be like that, but you notice that it will get rid of that. It will inadvertently remove that transient at the beginning. So this is where LFO tool is very useful. We can, adjust it so it will not cut the. Let's get rid of that. It will not cut the transient. It won't filter at all anything in the transient at the beginning here, so you can hear that. But it'll filter everything else out like that, and we can, add in some interesting curves there. All right, so we have that snappiness of the kick and that super awesome low end. And yeah, let's group these together so we can see and hear what's going on. I can turn this on and off. Right, and yeah, let's give this a little bit of volume so it's gain matched. That's also important. Oops. Right, so off, on. Right, a different flavor of the kick, and this is, I guess how you would, process kicks. You just make these huge chains of effects, and kind of make it your own. But there's a lot you can do with just quick volume automate. Well, this is emulating a compressor, but it's kind of hard to dial in a compressor to do exactly this. You would need a a very interesting release time. No, it'd actually not be possible to make a compressor actually do this with this much control. Like the attack, yeah, and then it would have to hold and then release and stuff like that. And then you risk with certain ratios and certain release times, you risk adding in distortion, especially when you're dealing with low frequency material like a kick. So LFO tool is very useful in order to do this. Back in the day, yeah, you would have like these large chains of like compression, and then some gain staging, and then something that would affect the overall harmonics, and then filters. You'd add in the filter, but then the filter would affect the transient of it, like I demonstrated, And you'd have to do automation, and like who knows if like the delay compensation would be would catch it. You know what I mean? Like this, it's like you don't even need to worry, and it makes it super easy. And I've kind of transferred that workflow into doing this, which is you know getting into the advanced stuff. And from here, this would work quite well in a track. And it has this this low end, like you've made it new essentially. And this would work. This would definitely work on a dance floor in a club or whatever. And this is just the kick, really. But there's a lot added to it. So of course, when you're making your track, you want to fix it and things like that. Do some reparative EQ, just to avoid that muddiness that can occur. But yeah, that snappiness of the kick would be very difficult to preserve and then create with simple compression when you can just use LFO Tool to achieve that thing. So anyway, yeah, that would be would be impossible to create with just a simple compressor. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that video. I hope you learned stuff. Take care and have a good one.